Friends, gather round, for tonight we delve into the thrilling world of tax policy. Yes, I know it might not sound like the most riveting topic at first glance, but trust me, there's more drama here than in your favorite TV series. Yes, it's as exciting as it sounds, but bear with me because what we're about to discuss could change the way you think about taxes forever. Our protagonist this evening, Donald J. Trump, a man who loves a good deal, especially when it involves upending the established order. Whether you love him or loathe him, you can't deny that he has a knack for shaking things up. His latest pitch? Ditching the IRS entirely. Imagine a world without the Internal Revenue Service. No more tax returns, no more audits, no more April 15th dread. Gone, vanished, like a magician's assistant in a puff of smoke. But what would replace this cornerstone of American bureaucracy? And in its place? The ERS, the External Revenue Service, fueled by the mighty tariff? Bold? Absolutely reckless? Potentially? But let's break it down. But hey, that's our Donald. Always ready to take a gamble on a grand idea. Now you might be thinking, John, tariffs? Isn't that a bit 18th century? Indeed, tariffs were a primary source of revenue for the US government back in the day. Well, my friend, you're not wrong. Tariffs have a long and storied history dating back to the early days of the Republic. But before you dismiss this idea as another Trumpian fever dream, let's take a trip down memory lane back to a time when America's tax system was simpler, more elegant, like a monocle on a bald eagle. Picture it, the early days of America when the government relied heavily on tariffs to fund its operations. There were no income taxes, no complex tax codes, just straightforward tariffs on imported goods. Ships would arrive at port, laden with goods from around the world. Customs officers would inspect the cargo and tariffs would be levied on the spot. It was a system that was easy to understand and relatively simple to enforce. The revenue generated from these tariffs helped build the young nation, funding everything from infrastructure projects to the fledgling military. It was a time when the economy was growing and the government was finding its footing. Fast forward to today, and the idea of relying solely on tariffs might seem quaint, even impractical. But Trump's proposal isn't just about nostalgia. It's about reimagining how we fund our government in a globalized economy. Economists are divided on the feasibility of such a plan. Some argue that it could simplify the tax system and reduce the burden on individual taxpayers. Others worry about the potential economic fallout and the impact on international trade. But one thing is certain. It's a bold idea that has sparked a lot of debate. And in the world of tax policy, that's no small feat. So, as we ponder the future of the IRS and the potential rise of the ERS, let's keep an open mind and remember that sometimes the most outlandish ideas can lead to the most profound changes. Once upon a time, in the halcyon days before the income tax, America was a land of tariffs. These weren't just any tariffs, mind you. They were big, bold tariffs, the kind that could make a grown man weep, or at least grumble about the price of imported tea. These tariffs were not just a minor inconvenience, they were a significant part of everyday life. Imagine walking into a marketplace, eyeing that fine porcelain from China or that luxurious silk from France, only to realize that the price tag was inflated due to these hefty tariffs. From the Founding Fathers to the dawn of the 20th century, tariffs were the primary way the US government funded itself. The Founding Fathers, in their wisdom, saw tariffs as a way to protect budding American industries from foreign competition while also filling the national coffers. This system of taxation was deeply embedded in the economic fabric of the nation. Think of it this way, back then if you wanted to sell your fancy European hats or your exotic Asian spices to the good people of America, you had to pay a hefty fee. This fee was not just a small percentage, it could be as high as 50% of the value of the goods. Merchants had to factor in these costs, which often made imported goods a luxury only the wealthy could afford. It was like a protection racket, but instead of burly men with brass knuckles, it was the long arm of the US government collecting its due. Customs officials were stationed at every major port, meticulously inspecting goods and ensuring that the appropriate tariffs were paid. This system was not without its flaws, however. Smuggling became a common practice as merchants tried to evade these high fees. And it worked, for a while at least. The revenue generated from tariffs was substantial and helped fund the young nation's infrastructure, military, and other essential services. However, as the economy grew and became more complex, the limitations of relying solely on tariffs became apparent. The need for a more stable and predictable source of revenue eventually led to the introduction of the income tax in the early 20th century. But for a significant period, tariffs were the lifeblood of the American economy, shaping the nation's trade policies and economic landscape. Now, fast forward to the 21st century, and who do we find waltzing back into the spotlight but tariffs, their sequins dusted off and ready for another spin on the dance floor? Yes, during his first term, our dear leader developed a bit of a reputation as a tariff man. Remember the trade war with China, the steel and aluminum tariffs? Those were just a taste of what Trump had in store, and in his 2024 campaign, he doubled down, promising a whopping 10 to 20% tariff on all imported goods. That's right, everything from your cheap plastic toys made in a sweatshop to your fancy Italian shoes handcrafted by artisan elves or whoever makes those. Section 4, living large with low taxes. Now you might be wondering, John, are there any countries out there that actually pull off this whole no income tax thing? Well, let me tell you, the answer is a big, fat yes. There are several countries around the world where you can live a life of luxury without the burden of income tax. Imagine that? Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because the answer is a resounding yes. These countries have found ways to attract wealthy individuals and businesses by offering tax incentives that are hard to resist. There's a whole world out there of low-tax havens where the sun always shines and the drinks are always free, or at least that's what the brochures tell me. These places are not just about tax benefits, they offer an incredible lifestyle that many dream of. Take the UAE, for example. This Middle Eastern gem is known for its opulence and grandeur. From the towering Burj Khalifa to the luxurious shopping malls, the UAE is a playground for the rich and famous. And guess what? There's no federal income tax here. Oil-rich and dripping with luxury, they've got no federal income tax. Or how about Monaco? This tiny principality on the French Riviera is a haven for the ultra-wealthy. With its glamorous casinos, yacht-filled harbours, and the famous Grand Prix, Monaco is the epitome of luxury living. Tiny but mighty, this playground for the ultra-wealthy relies on tourism, VAT, and a whole lot of gambling to keep the coffers full. The absence of income tax makes it an attractive destination for those looking to maximize their wealth. And don't forget the Bahamas, a tropical paradise with stunning beaches and crystal clear waters. The Bahamas not only offers a beautiful environment, but also a tax-friendly one. The Cayman Islands, known for their financial services and beautiful beaches, and Qatar, a rapidly developing country with a high standard of living and no income tax. The list goes on and on. These countries have mastered the art of attracting wealth by offering not just tax benefits, but also an unparalleled lifestyle. So, if you're dreaming of living large without the tax burden, these destinations might just be your ticket to paradise. Section 5. Can tariffs foot the bill? So the question is, can America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, and the massive military budget, actually function on a tariff-based system? Well, that's where things get a little complicated. You see, the US government spends a lot of money, like a lot. We're talking trillions of dollars here, folks. And while tariffs can bring in a pretty penny, it's unlikely they'd be able to cover the whole enchilada. Even the Congressional Budget Office, those masters of the obvious, has projected a widening gap between government spending and revenue in the coming years. And they're not exactly known for their wild predictions. Section 6, the economic crystal ball. Now, let's gaze into the economic crystal ball, shall we? What might happen if America went all in on tariffs? Well, on the plus side, eliminating income tax could incentivize investment and boost economic activity. People would have more money in their pockets, businesses would be free to flourish, and the American dream would be within reach for all, or at least that's the theory. But on the other hand, higher import costs could lead to inflation. Remember that time you went to the grocery store and the price of your favorite imported cheese had skyrocketed? Yeah, imagine that. But for everything. And let's not forget about the potential for retaliatory tariffs from other countries. Trade wars, my friends, are rarely pretty.